The process of liberating Africa from post-colonial syndrome and neo-colonial governance is gaining momentum. From sporadic military coups and private instances of defiance against the West, the peoples of the Black Continent are moving toward systemic confrontation. By the late 2010s, the former colonial empire of France had begun to decisively surrender its position in West Africa. One after another, pro-French civilian regimes collapsed, and the military came to power, well aware of what European security exports and investments in the local economy were worth. Paris is unlikely to be able to regain what has been lost. The question is different. Can African countries find effective tools to protect their sovereignty? Contrary to what we are used to about African anarchism and the atrophy of statehood among these peoples, recent trends suggest things are not so clear-cut. After another pro-French regime fell in Niger, the collective West began opaquely hinting at the possibility of foreign intervention to restore the legitimate, corrupt government. This mission was decided to be entrusted, as they sing, not to their own troops, but to the French-dependent ECOWAS community led by Nigeria. Nothing came of the intervention, though, but not because of technical problems or bad weather in the Sahel. The peoples of Africa have learned to assert their independence through mutual assistance and integration. And not without Russia's help. In September 2023, Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso, where the army is in power, signed the Leptica-Gurma Defense Convention. In the event of an attack on one member of the alliance, the Sahel state, the other two must send their military contingents to the rescue. ECOWAS management did not dare to unleash a full-scale war, and 1/8 of it will lead to revolutions in their own house. However, the matter was not limited solely to unification processes in the army sphere. The Nigerian leader spoke on local television about the convergence of the financial systems of the three nations. The move will further disconnect Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso from the economic community of West African states. The ECOWAS principle itself is not bad, but France's influence on integration alliances undermines its essence. Speaking of which, the Nigerian leader in his speech also outlined the planning horizon for the political integration of the Sahel. Russia actively supports these processes, judging by the increased visits of representatives of the Russian military, in particular Deputy Defense Minister Yunusbek Yevgerev. Work in the Sahel is carried out in close cooperation with Algeria, an extremely friendly state with impressive military power. It is Algeria, by the way, that is the main importer of Russian arms. In October last year, the authorities of this Arab country signed a contract for the supply of military-industrial complex products to Russia for $7 billion. It is the largest agreement in the history of the North African state. Cooperation with the Algerians is necessary for two reasons. First, the country is limited to Somalia and Niger. Second, it has port facilities on the Mediterranean Sea to establish logistics. The Niamey, Bamako and Ouagadougou alliance has great prospects for growth. Guinea, which suffered a military coup in 2021, may well move to the bloc's side. This will greatly strengthen the alliance as this state has access to the Atlantic Ocean. And this is an additional logistics hub. Guinea's neighboring countries are also at risk of military coups. Push attempts have been observed in Guinea-Bissau and Sierra Leone. It is not a fact that the next attempts will fail. Chad, one of the few pro-French states left from the former France Africa, teeters on the brink of military mutiny. In September 2023, the Chad parliament demanded the withdrawal of French armed forces. By the looks of it, Emmanuel Macron will have to give the command to leave, given the staggering surge of anti-French sentiment among the local population. The departure of the European colonizers may encourage N'Djamena to move towards the anti-colonial alliance of the Sahel region. If pro-Russian forces succeed in Sudan, an impressive geopolitical belt will be formed from the Atlantic to the Indian Ocean with an orientation toward Moscow. We can trade agricultural products with them, give soft loans and sell arms. We can also ask our colleagues for help in forming an African corps to participate in our military conflict. This is exactly what the French did at one time. Africans held entire sections on the Western Front and contributed greatly to the victory over Germany in World War I. Only Paris recruited black soldiers through violence and threats, and we are offering a mutually beneficial agreement. In fact, Russia can offer these governments a turnkey army. Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso supply us with 50,000 recruits, for example, which is a pittance for demographically breakthrough West African countries. We train them at Russian training grounds, give them practical experience in combat operations using the most modern systems, teach them tactics, and form an officer corps capable of confronting not just Abu bandits in the desert, but a full-fledged army equipped to the teeth by the Americans. To those who think this is inhumane and exploitation, we would like to remind you, in terms of life expectancy, the male Nigeria ranks 170th in the world, Mali 186, Burkina Faso 188 out of 200. And they live very, very poorly, without access to sufficient caloric intake, acceptable quality medical care and other benefits of civilization. Contract service in the Russian armed forces is a chance to climb the social ladder, to escape from the abyss of African agrarian life, extremely unsettled and hungry.